Hey there, y'all, and welcome to today's Daily Down and Dirty. My name is Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. All right, just want to remind you that I do have gift certificates available if you're doing any last-minute holiday shopping. I do palm tarot and astrology readings. Feel free to hit me up for more information. All right, y'all, the message for today: there seems to be a conflict between head, heart, and your values. Interesting, we've got 3 swords cards, which swords is air energy. Air is about communication, the words we speak, the thoughts we think, the beliefs we operate our lives on, the messages we give, the messages we receive, and ultimately it's our truth. Keeping in mind that truth can be subjective. Sometimes our minds will tell us things that we believe are true, but they're not really true. So then we've got 2 cups cards. Cups is water energy. I'm giving a tarot lesson today, apparently. Cups is water energy. That speaks to your emotions. It speaks to fulfillment. It speaks to your dreams. It speaks to psychic ability, all kinds of stuff like that. And then we've got 3 pentacles cards, which is earth energy. Earth is very slow moving. Think in terms of money or seeds, about investment, commitment, discipline, your values, that sort of thing. And then we have 1 fire card, 1 wands card, and that is passion, motivation, inspiration, creativity, courage, action, desire. So, and then we've got 1 major arcana. So again, a little bit of all of it, but the conflict definitely seems mostly to be between the mind and the heart, and then your values. So what's interesting to me is that the 3 of air, or 3 of swords, landed in the exact, and I don't do normal spreads, but they just kind of fall out and they sometimes spread themselves out in a similar fashion. So the 3 of swords landed in the same place today as it did yesterday. The only difference today is that it's reversed. So, you see that there's 3 swords sticking into that heart. Again, swords energy is more mental, and so sometimes it can mean that, but it is a heartbreak card. So it's like you're feeling it, but sometimes it can be that you're replaying stories in your head, whatever that may be. When it's reversed, it usually will indicate that you're coming out of a heartbreak. You're getting out of that loop. And I'm hoping that's what it is. And so, the 2, again, bookending cards are actually pretty positive. If you take this as a positive, coming out of the heartbreak is much better than being stuck in it, right? And it's also interesting that the card that it's next to is the 2 of Cups. So very interesting that you're coming out of a heartbreak, and then right next to it is a card that's usually associated with love. True love, soulmate energy. Sometimes this is seen as you and your higher self. I'll let you decide what it is. It is upright, and so upright cups, I like to say that can speak to fulfillment. Not always, but with these 2 cards, it looks like there's opportunity for fulfillment. But again, there's some sort of conflict here. So just taking these 2 cards right here, it could say, oh, you're ready for love. And if it were that cut and dry, if these were the only 2 cards that came out, it'd be like, you're ready for love, let it in. But then it gets a little bit more complicated. So above these cards, there's 2 cards above all of these. The one that's kind of, you've got 2 kind of overlighting it. I don't know why I call it that, but that's because they're above it. So, one is the Knight of Swords reversed. So I don't know if this is a liar. Sometimes when swords cards are reversed, I take it to mean some sort of internal dialogue, unless it's like the Knight or the King, because these can represent people. So this could be that somebody's lying to you, or there could be a deceptive message on its way to you. With this being directly above these 2 cards, and also, I don't want to go into that one, but with this one being directly above these 2 cards, it could be that you're ready to move on to a love, and maybe whatever this heartbreak card is about. Maybe there's still somebody, maybe that story is still trying to play in your mind, or, literally, maybe, this person has heard that you have started, moving on with somebody else, and maybe they're trying to send you messages now. If that's the case, I would say this person is a liar. I just said to somebody earlier today, they were talking about going back to their exes, and I was like, well, I'm with let's move forward and not backwards, but sometimes you have to learn that lesson the hard way, and I certainly have. So that, take it for what you want, but sometimes it's just better to move forward, don't move backwards. You already know what the past has for you. I guess I'm just jumping all around, but I don't want to jump to the end quite yet. Next to this Two of Cups, you've got the Five of Staffs. So even though this is a fire card, passion, motivation, this is a card of conflict. So, I don't know. So the Two of Cups, again, were it just these two cards, it'd be like, you're healing, it's time to move on. But then we move into this conflict, and then we've got this here. So I don't know, you can discern everybody's situation is unique to themselves, but there is some sort of conflict. This could be your own internal conflict. Maybe this person that you're wanting to move on with, maybe there is a conflict of interests, or a conflict of goals, a conflict of values. And then next to this Five of Wands, we've got the Knight of Pentacles. This is the only Pentacles card that's upright. By himself, he's not necessarily bad. He's often criticized for not taking action, though. He's he's evaluating his fields, but he's not planting the seeds, kind of a thing. With this conflict and not moving on, I wonder if you are either you're the indecisive one, or whoever you're involved with or considering getting involved with could be indecisive, or if there is a third party involved. Somehow it just feels like there's some indecision with this conflict and this Knight of Pentacles upright. And then moving on, let me put them in the order that they laid out in. Then next to this Knight of Pentacles is this Page of Pentacles reversed. And when this one first came out, you notice this page is a little kid, and it just kind of felt like when she came out, or they came out, it just kind of felt like a belief, like an inner child belief that's like, I don't ever get what I really want. And so if you feel that somebody is hesitant about committing to you, or if you're feeling hesitant, I would say take a deep look at your own inner child and what are the values. It feels like there's a root pain that wants to be acknowledged, or a root trauma, or a root belief, something from childhood, something that's been there a long time, and maybe the thing to go, to help you, take you deeper in there, is there a belief of, I never get what I really want? And so, this Knight could be you, and this Page could be you, and maybe you're afraid to take action on something that truly could be fulfilling. But if there's a belief that's blocking you because you don't believe you ever get what you want, and so you'll sabotage it before it even gets a chance, quite possibly. I don't know what's up with my hair, whatever. I should have wore a hat, whatever. Anyway, but above these two cards is this Page of Cups upright. So we've got two pages, and again, two Cups cards. So above this is you really do have this desire for fulfillment. You do have dreams of love, or, this feels like a love reading because of the Two of Cups and the Three of Swords, but it could be anything that you find fulfilling, anything that would fill your cup, that would fulfill those emotional desires. But you've got all this mental conflict going on, whether from inside of yourself or from people outside of you. But again, this is over top of that. So it kind of feels like right now there's an inner part of you, your own inner child, that's asking to be seen. So I'm always like, journal, pull out a notebook and start writing things down and go into what is this conflict about. And I would say, maybe start with the subject of, I have a belief that I don't ever get what I really want. And so I'm afraid to even try. I'm afraid to even go after it. Yet the heart wants what the heart wants. And so maybe, and maybe in this conflict, like maybe you're trying to fill a void here. And so it could be that something is stopping you because what you're looking at as that wish fulfillment or whatever, maybe some part of you intellectually knows that it's not the right situation, or it's not the right kind of thing. I don't know. Again, everybody's situation is unique. I definitely would say ask your inner child, where am I looking for fulfillment? What do I believe would fulfill me? What am I dreaming about? And some of this, it looks like it could be love, but then some of this looks like it could be money. So again, where are your values right now? What would serve you most to put your attention on, to invest yourself in? Because then next to this Page of Pentacles reversed, we've got the Three of Pentacles reversed. And so this is about soul's purpose. This is about, I always call it my starving artist card. And again, you could be passionate about being an accountant. You could be passionate about, making butterfly gardens. You could be a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. Upright though, I call it the starving artist card because we've known artists, we've known musicians, or maybe you are one of us, that, you're so committed to this creative urge, and you must be true to yourself, even though there are people that, are in the belief system that it's impractical to follow your desires. It's impractical to invest in your art or your music or whatever it is, to start your own business or whatever, that you're supposed to go to college and follow the rules and do da. And that does work out for some people. And, honestly, if that is what would work best for you right now, then I'm not going to tell you to fuck yourself at all. But at the same time, I do tend to favor the artist. I do tend to favor the musician. But with this here, it does kind of feel like you have a belief around investing in what it is that you really want to take root in your life. And so this could be about a relationship. If this is about love, it kind of feels like, again, talk to your inner child, one. And two, maybe you need to slow down. With love, romantic situations, I know myself included, we tend to rush in, fools rush in, and decide this new person is the one, and we connect, and this is the one I've been waiting for. And then a few months down the line, we start, we become disillusioned, like, oh, this is a person. This isn't my dream come true. And sometimes, or, always, people are flawed. And sometimes this person, the dream, the beauty, the love, it's founded in something deeper. And so despite the flaws, you still want to invest. You still want to put down a solid foundation. But often enough, we project our ideals of who we want them to be. And then we become disillusioned when we discover that's not at all who this person is. So it feels like, slow down. Maybe there's a need for you to get to know yourself a little bit better. And then definitely take the time to get to know other people a little better. Maybe it's a good idea to get to know multiple people. And, and even if you find friends that you love things about them, but you don't feel the romantic stuff about, maybe you can still glean from that. It's so funny, like my bestie, actually I have a couple of besties, and there are qualities that they have that the next time I get involved with somebody, I really want whoever I get involved with to have these qualities. But it's taken commitment. We've invested in our friendships. We've really laid solid foundations. We have overcome conflict. And, I remember somebody telling me a long time ago when I got into a relationship, and we moved in together kind of quickly. And a friend of mine said, 4 seasons. You need to give it 4 seasons before you move in. You don't know this person until you've seen them at least through every single season, you know, spring, summer, fall, winter, and see how they respond to different conflicts within those 4 seasons. And even then you don't really know them, but at least give it a year. At least give it 4 seasons before you decide that you know who this person is. And also witnessing yourself in relationship with this person. If you witness patterns emerging that when you weren't with that person, that's not how you behaved, but then when you got with this person, you see yourself acting out of character, pay attention to that, you know. And it's beautiful that as I go into that, then we've got this 9 of Swords reversed. Again, a lot of times when swords are reversed, it could be like an internalized belief system. And, you know, 9 of Swords is my PTSD card. Like, this is recurring trauma, recurring patterns of trauma response behaviors. And it being reversed in connection with the rest of this reading, it does kind of feel like maybe you have chosen to turn a blind eye to what you're truly witnessing, or maybe in the past you did that. It's okay to look at that and acknowledge and say, yeah, that's toxic in me. That's an unhealed part of me. And I would like to move beyond this. I would like to grow beyond this. I do have this ideal of a relationship that I want, and I am willing to recognize my patterns of self-sabotage. And sometimes patterns of self-sabotage is gaslighting yourself about other people's behavior, or, you know, or the dynamic that happens between you. So it really feels like if you're willing to do the work, and then you can heal patterns of heartbreak. And so it feels like a lot of this is just take a deep breath and slow down. You don't need the conclusion of the story to happen right now, and you can't force outcomes, you can't force conclusions to be what you want. You can definitely fool yourself into believing that's what you have, but eventually, you know, reality is going to settle in. People, you know, people don't conform to what you want them to be, and if they do, it's not sustainable. Eventually, who they really are is going to come out. You're going to have to get to know each other at some point. So might as well invest. Say, okay, I like this person well enough. I'm going to invest 4 seasons into this. And you know, you might get 2 seasons in and say, yep, that's it for me. I've seen all that I need to see. And you're not obligated to stay invested. But it's like slow down and value yourself, value your heart enough to maybe stop these cycles. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is so much about changing those cycles, coming into a new cycle, completing an old cycle and beginning a new cycle. 10 is that completion. 1 plus 0 equals 1. That's about initiating a brand new cycle. This one did come out upright, so it's very favorable. You know, it's very favorable if you choose to value yourself and be willing to witness your behaviors and be willing to initiate brand new patterns of behavior. Recognize yourself. It's not a one and done. This is years. This is the rest of your life. But you can create a whole lot of happiness and even create situations that feel like really good luck, you know, if you take the time to invest in yourself. All right, that's all I have for today. Once again, my name is Fairlight. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and love. Until next time.